evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. City Council is holding its first meeting of 2024 tomorrow with some significant items on the agenda. That includes the mayor's annual State of the City address and a discussion about potentially joining the province's red light camera program. Vasilios Bellos reports.
City Council is back after its holiday break for the first meeting of the new year. The item many community members will have their eyes on is the annual State of the City address.
Well, we know the mining is real.
That will be presented by Mayor Ken Boshkov with this year's address titled All Roads Lead to Thunder Bay. Boshkov highlights what he calls the incoming mining boom as a crucial part of Thunder Bay's future and says creating housing in 2024 will be important to ensuring incoming workers and their families have a place to live.
People are setting up offices here. People are moving here. We want the families of these people to move here so that they could go to our school and help build our city. So we do have focus, and that's my intent, to make us to let everybody know what a good place it is to live.
Thunder Bay has applied for $46 million from the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund to build 2,200 new homes in the next 3 years, though there's still no timeline for a decision on those dollars. Also on Monday's agenda, a push to make running red lights more costly.
Driving habits have not really improved. This is a method that will hopefully mitigate some of that.
Red River Councillor Michael Zucino is asking the city to reconsider joining the province's red light camera program. It would see several intersections in the city have cameras, which would automatically capture images of drivers running red lights and mailing them a ticket.
That in 2021, the council had an opportunity to install red light cameras, and they chose not to. Since then, there's a new 5 people on council, so maybe their views have changed, or maybe there'll be a different vote. I think driving habits in our city have not improved over that time.
Zucino says he's hoping for 10 intersections throughout the city to have the cameras set up. If council approves Zucino's proposal, administration will put together a report with the potential costs, revenues, and timelines for the cameras. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Museum Society held their annual President's Reception today. The event is a chance for the museum's board of directors to recognize the volunteers that help keep the museum going. Museum Society President Michelle Belia presented awards recognizing volunteers who had put in 100 hours or 500 hours of volunteering since the museum began formally tracking volunteer hours in 2021. He also awarded a President's Award and Volunteer of the Year Award to 2 volunteers who went above and beyond.
The lifeblood of the museum is its volunteers. Since 2021, they've contributed thousands of hours to the ongoing activities of the Society. That ranges from what we do for kids programming, to setup, to behind the scenes things that aren't quite that exciting. The work they do in bingos, which raises money for the Society.
Oh, it's awesome. It's the museum does such good work, and it's really rewarding to be part of the museum and helping them in any way I can. So it's really nice today.
Belia says he doesn't want to think about how the museum would get along without volunteers like Willis. He says volunteers are integral to every aspect of what they do at the museum. Martin Falls First Nation now has a grocery store on its reserve at Ogoki Post, more than 400 kilometers northwest of Thunder Bay. The opening of the new store is huge news for this small community. Lee Noonan has the story.
Ogoki Post is the Martin Falls First Nation Reserve. It's named for the Hudson's Bay trading post that once sat there at the mouth of the Ogoki River. There have long been stores there of one kind or another, but the Ottawagamik GP General Store, which opened recently, is arguably the very first fully fledged grocery store in the remote community. Assistant General Manager Conrad Baxter explains that before they'd opened, residents had most of their groceries flown in.
I would have to order from the grocery store in Chilton, which is Dennis, and it's pretty expensive. Just freight alone, it's like a quarter or half of what my grocery order would be.
Shipping costs still mean prices are high at the new store, but it's owned by the First Nation and the profits stay in the community.
So the community can feel better that it's not going out of town. It's not, people, and they'll eventually invest more into the community.
The store is already growing. Baxter was its first employee and general manager Craig Quinnell was the second. There are a couple of new hires in the works right now.
So we want to make it profitable for the community, so to benefit, so we can expand, become bigger, add more services, potentially add a gas bar to the operation as well. It's so needed because people have to truck their fuel in, or it comes in by plane, and something would normally cost $30 down south costs you $175 here.
Quinnell says running the store is quite a bit more complicated than it would be down south, with the logistics and costs of flying goods in.
The tough thing is to find the balance of what the cost is to get it here and getting a reasonable price for our customers so that it makes it practical for them to shop here.
According to Baxter, what locals appreciate the most is being able to head down to the shop, actually see what they're buying, and have it in hand right away without waiting potentially days for the next flight. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Residents of Terrace Bay are reeling from this week's news that the local pulp mill was idled and most of its workforce laid off for an undetermined period of time. But it's not the first time in recent memory that the mill has been shut down.
Yeah, when you're a one-industry town and you lose your major employer, shuts down for an undetermined length of time, depending on market conditions, it's a big deal.
Mayor Paul Malashewski says he wasn't in Terrace Bay for the last shutdown of the mill because he was among the many workers who left to find work elsewhere. But those who were there say the town emptied out. Housing prices dropped, businesses suffered, and everyone, particularly young families, felt the impact.
Well, a lot of them moved away with their families. The schools, the enrollment was down, and some people weathered it through if they could live with their parents and stuff, but it wasn't good. The houses dropped dramatically as far as the sale of housing and stuff, And now with everything being so expensive, the food and the groceries, it's going to be tough for the younger people. I feel for them.
Well, you see town now, it isn't very big, but when you got a drop of maybe a third or half the town moving away, it's very different, and everybody is kind of lost. Friends are gone, and job is gone.
Despite the bleak picture, the former mill workers paint it's not all doom and gloom. They say the town has weathered temporary shutdowns before, and it can do it again. They're just hoping to see the mill reopen quickly before employed workers start to leave. With it finally starting to look like winter, one of Thunder Bay's most anticipated events is back with the 2024 Winter Fun Days. The season-long event series kicked off today at the waterfront. Once again, here's Lee Noonan with more.
Sundays are Winter Fun Days in the city from now until March 17th, with events designed to get the whole family out into the community and experiencing the joys of winter.
So we have a winter party happening outside on the skating rink in February. We have KHEP here for, I believe, 7 of the Winter Fun Days. So there's all kinds of different activities. They're doing scratch art, they're doing snowflake making, and then we have some programming happening out more in the community. So we have a snowshoeing day happening at Chapels. We have a St. Patty's Day party happening in Minnesota Park. So all kinds of little fun activities to do every Sunday.
Many of the events are aimed at getting families bundled up and enjoying the outdoors, but for those who prefer to stay warm, there are also lots of indoor activities on the calendar.
Today we're here with KHEP, so they're here making some welcome cards for the athletes that are coming for the Ontario Winter Games coming up.
We spoke with some of the kids at the card-making event, and they all agreed it was a good time, and they hope to be back for more events over the winter.
I tried the 5-pin bowling.
And what do you think? Is this a good activity?
Yes. Yeah, I would like to go to all of them. It's always good to try new things.
Winter Fun Days are hosted by the city. They're happening on Sundays between 2 and 4 every week, and there is never a cost to participate.
The goal of Winter Fun Days is for everyone in the community to get to enjoy the beautiful outdoors that we have in Thunder Bay and get to know some of the community organizations that work within it. Families of all ages and sizes, come on down.
Most of the activities are taking place here at the Marina or the Baggage Arts Building. For the details on every activity, you can go to the city's website. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Now joined by sports anchor Josh Morano, and it looks like locals in town had fun today, but they also had a lot of fun yesterday as the T-Wolves were back in action, and what a game it was.
Yeah, their first weekend back to regular season action since the winter break, and we'll have that coming up and more in just a little bit.